Hi everyone, I'm sleep expert Lauren Olson, and I want to invite the whole family to join me as I read through one of the Disney Princess Bedtime Stories. This story is all about Princess Belle, who uses her creativity to solve a problem for the whole castle. Sounds exciting, right? Let's read all about Princess Belle and the Star Stories.
Twilight was falling as Belle and Chip strolled through the castle gardens. "Look," Belle said, pointing at the sky. "There's Draco the dragon." "A dragon?" Chip gasped, looking around. "Where?" "It's not a real dragon," Belle replied. "It's a constellation." Chip scrunched up his face in confusion. "A what?" "A constellation," Belle repeated. "It's a group of stars that look like a picture." Belle traced the air with her finger, outlining the image of Draco the dragon. "See? Those stars look like a dragon." Chip jumped up and down in excitement. "I see it! I see Draco!" Then he stopped. "How many other constellations are up there?" he asked Belle. "How do people find them?" Belle smiled. "Follow me. I know where we can learn about them." In the library, Belle found a book about constellations. "Long ago, people searched the star for hidden pictures," she read aloud. "These star pictures became known as constellations. The constellations inspired many stories, some of which we still tell today." "What kind of stories?" Chip wondered. "Sometimes the stories are about great adventures," Belle replied. "Other times they explain how something extraordinary happened." She turned the page. "Look, here's a map of the sky showing all the different constellations." Chip peered at the book. "Let's go outside and find them," he shouted, hopping down from the table and bouncing towards the door. Belle followed Chip. But when they got outside, the sky was dark and cloudy. "I'm sorry, Chip," she said. "It's too cloudy to see constellations tonight." "No fair," Chip said sadly. "I really wanted to see the constellations." Chip looked disappointed. Belle wanted to help him feel better. But how? Suddenly, she had an idea. "Maybe," she began, "we could make our own constellation. We could hang it in the library and come up with a story to go with it." "Yeah," Chip cheered. "Let's do it." "First, we'll need something shiny and sparkly for the stars," Belle said thoughtfully. "I know just who to ask." Belle led Chip upstairs to her bedroom, where the wardrobe was setting out a dress for her to wear the next day. "You two look like you're up to something," the wardrobe said. "We're working on a project," Belle began. Before she could finish, Chip interrupted her. "But we can't tell you what it is. It's a surprise," he exclaimed. "Do you have anything sparkly or shiny we could borrow?" "Do I ever?" the wardrobe gushed. Two of her drawers flew open. One contained shiny buttons made of gold, silver, and bronze. The other held crystal beads in all sizes. "Take as many as you need. I've got lots more where these came from." "What else do you think we need for our night sky?" Belle asked. "We need planets," Chip exclaimed. He raced down the hallway and burst into Cogsworth's quarters. "Cogsworth!" he shouted. "Can we borrow some gears?" "Gears?" Cogsworth repeated, confused. His clock hand spun wildly around his face. "We need them for a very special surprise in the library," Belle explained. "In that case," Cogsworth began. He opened up one of his cupboards and pulled out several gleaming gears. "Will these do?" "They're perfect," Chip said. "Thank you," Belle called as she followed Chip out of the room. "Now we need a way to string our stars together," Belle told Chip. "Maybe Mama has something we can use," Chip said. As always, Mrs. Potts was delighted to see them. "How about a nice spot of tea?" she asked. Chip shook his head. "No thanks, Mama. We're working on a big project." "Do you have any wire or string?" "Why, yes, I believe I do," Mrs. Potts said. "This egg basket's not much use to me with that hole. You could unravel it for the wire." Back in the library, Belle and Chip arranged everything they gathered on the table. Then they began to build their constellation. "Chip, we almost forgot my favorite thing about constellations," Belle said. "The story." "Don't worry," Chip replied. "I know just the story." Chip told her his idea. "That's perfect," Belle said. "But how are we going to hang our constellation in the air?" the little teacup asked. "I think I know who can help us with that," Belle said. I'll be right back." Belle hurried to the Beast's quarters. When she explained what she and Chip were doing, he happily followed her to the library. The Beast climbed on top of a high ladder and hung their constellation. Then he covered it with a large black curtain. Finally, it was time to invite everyone to see their surprise. Chip raced around in the tea cart, inviting everyone to the library. When their friends were settled, Belle blew out the candles in the library to make it darker. Then Chip began his story. Once upon a time, a girl named Belle got lost in the woods. It was dark and cold outside, and then it began to snow. Belle scattered paper snowflakes in the air. "Ooh, lovely, dear," Mrs. Potts said. "A fine way to set the mood," Lumiere added. Suddenly, a pack of fierce wolves began to chase her, Chip shouted, making everyone gasp. The girl was terrified, but she was determined to escape. She ran through the woods, but the wolves followed her. They surrounded her. She was sure they were going to devour her. And then out of nowhere, the Beast showed up and attacked the wolves. He roared and snarled, fighting off the vicious wolves. He tossed one of the wolves so far that it went up, up, up into the sky, where it turned into a constellation for everyone to see. And there it is to this day, as a reminder not to hurt the Beast's friends. As Chip finished his story, Belle pulled down the curtain and unveiled their constellation. Everyone burst into applause. Wait, Lumiere said, making his way up to where Belle was standing. "I think you're forgetting one important detail." Belle and Chip looked at each other confused. They had stars, planets, and a wonderful story. What had they forgotten? The stars are supposed to shine, no? Lumiere asked with a smile. He pointed his candles up at the constellation, making each bead and button sparkle. Everyone agreed. Now the constellation was perfect.
I think it's really wonderful how Belle really created something that brought everyone in the castle together to make something special. That's part of what being a princess is all about. I hope that you guys will join me again for another story soon. And until then, remember, you're always a princess if you dream big.